Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Eurovoxx Podcast, the place where we will be discussing all things Eurovision, coming up after arguably the first Super Saturday of this season, and well, technically Sunday as well, but we'll get onto that. We will be talking about Ukraine, Norway, Spain, and Malta, who all selected their act this weekend. But first, let us introduce our guest. This is the second time he is appearing on this show. Last time he went through all of his favorite Swedish entries of the last 15 years. And sadly, this time he's come on the show too late to talk about his own country, as they released quite early on in the season. It is all the way from France, Dylan. Hello, Dylan.
Hello, Harry. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again, and nice to be part of this week special episode on this first Super Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. No, well, Italy's next week, so it's not rolling over to Sunday quite yet in terms of that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say that you've got the what's it called? The shortest turnaround from episode to episode, because it's technically a new series has happened since you were last on, but you were one of the last ones on Series 1, and you're one of the first on Series 2. So just the way the schedule works out. We didn't want to do the same order as last time because that would not be interesting. But before we get on to the countries for today, let's ask Dylan 3 questions as we always do. But of course, Dylan, they have been shaken up for this time because we know your favorite song of all time and your... What was the first question we used to ask? What was the first?
I can't remember. And I'm
I host the show. What was the first question? First Eurovision. Eurovision, that was it. So yeah, we know that. But let's start some new ones. So Dylan, what is your favorite Eurovision moment in person?
Oh, I mean, I could go and say it's when we met, but that
the correct answer. Thank you very much.
So I can skip the game at the end. Perfect. Or get an extra point.
No, you can't. I believe we met in like the middle of like an Italian field or something like that in Turin.
Yeah, that's right. No, but overall, to be honest, my favorite moment was and is always the same. It's when I'm meeting new people at Eurovision. The atmosphere is amazing. It's always special, and I feel like there is never any animosity. So it's like meeting old friends, even though you don't know them, and that's what I love about Eurovision. It's like one big family, but without the drama. I mean, there is some drama.
I was going to say we'll get on to some drama later on, Dylan, in this show. But no, I 100% got what you mean. Meeting Eurovision fans in person and doing Eurovision experiences in person is one of the best experiences you can have in life. Like I always look forward to Eurovision trips because they are always fantastic. Not a bad memory from them. So the second question is, what was your favorite Eurovision entry in 2023 last year?
Oh, well, the question shouldn't be too tricky, to be honest, if I just could remember any of the songs.
We now know why you didn't do well on OK Gotta Go 30 Seconds last time.
I mean, I have a goldfish memory, so don't ask anything. Don't expect anything from me on that. No, but last year, favorite song was obviously Karja from Finland with his song Cha Cha Cha. It was by far my favorite, and I still think he got robbed by LOREEN. But this is still somehow an hurtful memory. So just move on to the third question.
Well, I was just going to mention how actually the rarity is we both watched the final together actually in the Eurovision Village. So we saw the results and we saw your disappointment for Finland and France, I would argue. France, you were indifferent. Fair enough.
But Finland, I was really heartbroken for him and for all of my Finnish friends. I have more Finnish friends than Swedish friends actually, so that might be one of the reasons as well. But got it for Finland and Karja. Maybe next year, who knows? Or this year?
Maybe next year. Well, we'll find out Finland's entry for 2024 on Saturday. I tell you what, final memory of that, because you can collaborate with this. I mentioned this on like the final episode, but I remember one of the funniest things was we were there with a load of Irish people. They were my friends, but they were new to you. And if you remember, they were all big Belgium fans. So the Daddy in a Hat chants whenever Belgium got points was quite amazing.
Yeah, it was. was quite amazing, especially that Belgium did much better than we expected. So everybody was happy for him, but your friends were obviously much happier than the average Eurovision fan.
And then meanwhile, me and Sean from ESC United, shout out to him, every time the UK got points, we celebrated like we won the World Cup. Just the typical British, the typical British way, I would argue.
Well, I would say this is one of the reasons why Liverpool was such a successful event, because the Brits definitely know how to organize a party, to organize anything, to be honest. And I think this is why many Euro fans enjoyed being in Liverpool. And also we were quite lucky with the weather, which wasn't expected. So
very lucky with UK weather. I was surprised by that myself. I actually only brought like one set of shorts because I was like, oh, just in case, but I'm not going to need them. Actually, I needed them for the final. I actually got a bit sunburnt because I didn't get.
Yeah, I remember that. You got sunburnt. Yes.
Thankfully, I had enough time before I headed back for my parents to not question, are you sunburnt, Harry?
Have you been to Liverpool or to Mallorca? Well,
somehow I feel like in Malmö, Sweden, we will not have the issue of sunburn. I don't know why.
Ooh, you never know. I mean, 10 years ago, I was actually on Erasmus and I was in Estonia, and I went on a trip to Helsinki, and this is the first time that year I got sunburn in Helsinki. I wouldn't have bet on that, but yeah, in May actually in Helsinki. So you never know. The sun hits quite harder in the Baltic region in general. So watch out.
I might take a sun cream in case, although I will probably look stupid when they find out where I'm going. And then the final question is our guest question. We always ask the previous guests the question. And Dylan, you were actually responsible for arguably the best guest question last time with Shaughnessy's question. It's slightly more tame, I would argue, this time. It comes from Tommy. And he is asking, it's a Eurovision-based one. Well, actually, last time was technically Eurovision-based, but...
yeah, well, arguably.
Technically. It's slightly different this time. So, Dylan, Tommy wants to know, what do you feel was the most robbed artist / song in Eurovision history?
Well, I mean, I would say Karia was probably robbed, but you could go on. I mean, not to be too Frenchy on that, but we were robbed quite a few times also in the 90s. Thank you, Sweden. Not thank you. So, Carola, I mean, if you hear this, I'm coming for you in Malmö. Trust me.
Oh, if Carola listens to this podcast, I will lose my mind. I do love how you've picked two entries that came second as the most robbed, not anything that came like 21st, 24th.
I mean, no. I mean, if you're 23rd or 24th, I mean, I'm sorry. I feel sorry for you, but that is not being robbed. That something went wrong, either on the jury show or on the televote. But yeah, I mean, you can't be robbed if you're last with 0 points. I'm sorry.
See, I would argue that don't worry, I wasn't saying for you to pick Embers, but I would have argued that. I would have argued that, like, if you were going for France, I always think that 2022 should have done a lot better. I really enjoyed that entry.
Yeah, it was maybe it was good, but to say that it was robbed, I mean,
there were worse songs that finished above it.
Yeah, arguably though, because the voice wasn't good enough. I mean, yeah, but the song was great. The radio version is great. I love it. But yeah, it was not necessarily robbed, in my opinion, at least.
Fair enough. At least you finished above Germany. That's the bare minimum that I think the Big Five
exactly.
Need to do. The bare minimum that Big Five need to do is finish above Germany. That is high Dom in a couple of weeks when we do the Germany episode. So now we come on to Eurovision news in the last couple of days, specifically the countries that have been decided. But actually, before we get on to that, breaking news from today when we're recording this on Monday. The hosts have been revealed for Eurovision 2024. And one of them is the returning Petra Meda. Dylan, excited to see her again?
I am delighted to see her again, and I am actually double excited because this is the first time I will, breathe the same air as her, walk in her steps. So that makes it even more excited. I'm really, really looking forward to going to Malmö and somehow meet her.
if you get close enough to the stage, which spoiler, my tickets are not close enough to the stage for the show. I tell you what, I did find it funny. One member in the box, I won't say who it is, but celebrated the fact it was two females. I'm like, if you look back at the recent hosts, it is predominantly female.
Yeah.
Like it is not. If anything, we should be celebrating more males if they host Eurovision.
Exactly, and it goes the same way for the contestants this year. I mean, we know some of the artists already, but a huge majority are just female artists.
Now, listen, this won't surprise you to know I've got a spreadsheet for this for the male and female demographic. I believe it's like high 60s so far for female artists,
Wow.
which is by far the high. It would if it stood like that for the rest of the season, that would be the highest by a country mile for like female to male demographic. Usually males actually have slightly more representation in Eurovision year to year, but I digress. Let's go on to the countries now, and up first, meant to be revealing their song on Saturday, but due to technical difficulties produced arguably the longest national final in Eurovision history, revealing their artist on Sunday. It is Ukraine, and they will be going to Malmö with Jerry Hall and Aliona with the song Teresa and Maria. So that was Jerry Hall and Aliona with Teresa and Maria. Bear with me with my pronunciation on these, but Jerry Hall is 28 years old from Vlasiv, Kiev Oblast, while Aliona is 32 years old from Kapit Tanivka Kievovrad Oblast. I apologize, I butcher those tremendously, I'm sure, but I'm hoping you can appreciate me trying to pronounce the names. So, this is not the first time that Eurovision fans will be distant from Jerry Hall. She obviously, distance probably not the right word, but they'll be familiar with Jerry Hall, as she took part in Vidbeer 2020 and 2023 with Vegan and When God Shut the Door. And people will be familiar with Aliona as well, one of the best-selling rappers in Ukraine at the moment. So, Dylan, obviously, we had a bit of a delay when finding out this entry, as there were technical issues with the voting. I believe the site crashed. So at the time, they only had like 2,000 votes on Saturday, which is roughly what Benidorm Fest, I believe, got in semi-final 2. But I digress. But we now have a winner. We have a winner in time. And what are your thoughts on Teresa and Maria?
Only positive thoughts, to be honest. It was my favorite from the moment they actually revealed the artists. I just got obsessed with the song when it was released. For some reason, I love the chorus, and I think it is something also that, even though it's in Ukraine, partly in English, but it's something that even non-Ukrainian speaker could sing along, and because it's quite easy. But I don't know. The melody is very strong, and I think it is the kind of melody that takes you with it, and makes you just dance and sing. So I'm really happy for their win, their victory. I would also say that I was expecting their victory, to be honest. They have a huge fan base. We've seen what they were able to do in their previous participation in Vidbeer, and they delivered an amazing performance on stage. We could see that there was probably some technical issue with the here at the beginning, but apart from that, I think they nailed it, and they have a huge support. Also, there's something very interesting. When you mentioned the number of total votes from the DIA app, we could see that the next day there has been, from memory, 1,200,000 votes. Yeah, and they got over 7,100 votes, which is completely crazy.
And they got one more point than second place in the televote.
Yeah, which is
gotta love fixed voting. We'll come on to Spain later.
yeah, exactly. but I think it also shows a huge support from the Ukrainian fan, and this is something beautiful to see, because you can tell that they have people behind them, supporting them, and I think this gives you a huge advantage when you're going to Eurovision. because you can rely on a strong community to help you, to protect you against stress and everything. So glad for them, and amazing performance. Maybe we could elaborate a bit more on the staging later on, but I think they have everything to actually take the trophy in Malmö. Yeah.
Wow, bold prediction already. First of all, I want to ask, how is Jerry Howell the same person that sung Vegan? How? That makes no sense. Vegan, I'm sorry, is awful. Jerry Howell, her other two entries are fantastic. I'm allowed to say that, to be fair, because Jerry Howell even admitted Vegan is awful. So she admitted it. She is such a fantastic artist. And you know what? This was song-wise, this was not my favorite. It was my second place behind MALMÖ, Dreamer.
MALMÖ was amazing as well. I would have been glad for his victory, to be honest.
I think we both agree that needs to be at Euro Club regardless.
Yes, please.
That's so good. That'd be so good at Euro Club.
Listen to me. I'm burning the place if they're not putting MALMÖ on.
There's a few songs this year in 2024 where I'm like, no, you need to play them. Need it now.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this song, as soon as I heard it, I thought there is something very special here. Incredibly special. First of all, it gives me, I don't know how you're familiar with this British artist, London Grammar vibes, if you're aware of them. So haunting, so powerful. There is not a moment of energy wasted here. There's no downtime, but it works. Like, it's also not overbearing. It's not like one of those rock songs, which is like intense. It's just energy, power, and femicness. Ethnicity as well. This is very ethnic at the same time as being accessible. It's so good. I understand why people love it, and what I found fascinating was I saw a couple of people saying, well, if the app crashed, then they should just go to the jury votes for default. Let's not do that.
No, please.
I don't know what they were watching. No disrespect to the band that came in first, but that would have not been a good shout for Ukraine to send. I would have argued Ukraine would have been in contention to not qualify if they had sent them.
Maybe for the first one, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure Jamala has her reasons, and Verka.
I mean, Jamala's reason are Jamala's reason. She's an amazing artist, but every time she goes to Vidbir as a jury member, she tends to forget maybe that you can convey a message, you can convey advices, and without being humiliating.
Yeah, no, what I found fascinating was this was the first time I was able to hear the English commentary version, so I was able to hear their critiques for the first time. It's a fascinating experience how harsh they are and how sort of I'm not a massive fan of it just from the way they speak, and maybe it's just the English translation from Ukrainian. I completely respect that might be the case, but I don't like the fact that how sort of degrading they are to the artists. They're sort of like the judges act as sort of this omniscient thing. I'm like, no, these are credible artists, like in their own right. I know some of them are new to the scene, but they're not X Factor contestants, for example.
Exactly.
But I digress. When it comes to this performance, Ukraine, they know how to do Eurovision, and this will go down, in my opinion, as an all-time Ukraine classic at the contest. Because no disrespect to Torchy, they got 6th place. They had a very respectable entry. I don't think it was Ukraine's strongest, despite the performance. Ukraine are back this year. They are 100% back. And what I will say is, I think the staging does need work. I'm not completely sold on it. It feels you need a couple elements. Jerry Howell's vocals, you don't need to change. Aliona's part, don't need to change. Just add a little bit. Maybe some, just doesn't have to be props, but like some lighting, some mood.
Yeah, make it a bit more powerful, maybe, because the song is very powerful, but you don't see it from the staging. And I think this is the only, in my opinion, the only thing they have to work on to get the absolute perfect performance, to strengthen their staging. Yes. Because this needs to be a little bit reworked, but I mean, they have time, and they, as you said, Ukraine is a strong European Eurovision nation, so they definitely know how to pull out a good staging and how to improve it by the time we arrive to the semi-final.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, yeah, I think the audio levels need to be improved, but I will forgive Vidbir
Mm.
because of the obvious circumstances with Ukraine.
Yeah, you
I'll
can't be
forgive
happy.
tech issues. So I feel like, because I'm only asking this because I ask it for every song that isn't in the final already, but this feels a bit redundant. Dylan, is this qualifying to
I mean, I told you
the?
this is winning the contest, baby. So yes, it is qualifying.
I
I mean,
do
I
think
don't
there
see
is.
how it could not qualify, to be honest, except if one of them sleep on a banana peel or somehow on the
No,
stage.
Matt
But
Black
than
didn't win
that,
Malta. We'll come on to that, but Matt Black didn't win. He won't be leaving any spare banana peels from
no.
his performance. Yeah, there are very few 100% qualifiers in Eurovision.
Yeah.
I think Carrier and LOREEN were those last year. For
Mhm.
me, this come
Clearly, yeah.
on, come on, this definitely is in contention to win. And you know what's nice? I don't think people, because I don't think people can say this is in contention to win because of the situation in Ukraine. It is in there
Oh,
because of its own merit.
I mean, no, I mean, definitely. But also, I would like to say that if really there are some people, and sorry, pardon my French, but stupid enough to think that Ukraine needs that to win, they don't know anything about the Eurovision. And even if it was true that Ukraine is surfing somehow on a wave of sympathy because of the war that is going on, I mean, so what? Give them a break. The people in
No,
the country has been at war for 10 years with Russia. So if they can win a song contest, I mean, okay, let's go. So yeah, but no, Ukraine is definitely a contender for the victory, regardless of anything that is happening in the country, because it knows how to present strong entries, because also it is true to its identity. And this is something that Vidbeer is really good at. It that they don't try necessarily to adapt to the trending music and songs worldwide. They just go with what they have, and we've seen in this year Vidbeer that they had very ethnic songs. I can think of Anka's performance, for instance, or Yagode performance as well. Um,
very good.
these were very good, and they also brought some part of Ukraine identity. And it's not the first time we saw that. We've already seen that, for instance, with Go A, and that worked perfectly with the public and the jury. So Ukraine is definitely there to kill it, and it has everything, regardless of the war.
I will, yeah. Well, I was going to come on to it. I love the recent Ukrainian Renaissance in their finals
Mm-hmm.
because Torchy aside, because it is a bit that has a bit of Western elements in terms of style. But when you come
More,
to
yes.
like Kalush Orchestra, this entry and Go A, recent years they've really been sending something ethnic but
Yes,
also
yes.
good. Like you could say Ukraine sent good stuff before, but like you wouldn't say Gravity is Ukrainian, you wouldn't say Under the Ladder is Ukrainian
They're
necessarily.
good as well, but they're not
They're
necessarily
very good.
Ukrainian. And it's nice you mentioned Kalush Orchestra, because actually that year it was Alina Pash that was supposed to go represent Ukraine, and Vidbir I think took place in January. So it
January,
was,
late January, early February, something around that time.
yeah, and that was approximately a month before Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And even by then, even Kalush Orchestra was in the top three of the odds to win. So maybe they got a little extra support from jury or public, but they were definitely a contender for victory, regardless of the war. And it shows again the consistency of Ukraine's participation in Eurovision. And this is what I love. They really have somehow cracked the magical recipe, to perform well at Eurovision. So I'm glad for them, and I'm here for it, because really they have an amazing song and an amazing musical industry in general. We could also mention other national artists such as Olia Polyakova, for instance, or Ruslana, which is also a great artist. Jamala is doing great. We have Verka, my beloved Verka. But in general, yes, Ukrainian music industry is vivid, and they are really bringing something else we don't have in general. So I'm glad they are here.
Absolutely. And just to close out thing, thankfully now we can finally, because the half allocations have been announced, we can finally close these out by saying which halves they're in. So Ukraine is in the first half of semi-final one. Again, not that that matters. Even though people are anticipating semi-final one to be quite a strong one, I think Ukraine will be a reason for that, not someone that suffers from it. But that is our thoughts on Ukraine. So now we come to another country that revealed their act on Saturday this time. They actually did it on Saturday in Norway, and they are being represented by the band Godt and the song Olverham. So that was Godt with Olverham, Norway's representative for 2024 Eurovision in Malmö. Godt originate from Troldenlang in Norway. Again, I've probably butchered that. I do apologize. Hopefully, I've got better luck with Malta and Spain later on. And actually, they are going to send the first song in Norwegian to the contest since... any guesses, Dylan? Do you know the year?
2006.
Yay!
I want the quiz.
No, that's not the quiz, Dylan. We've revamped it. That's not the quiz, though. 2006. Also, a effing good entry. 2006. Really love that song. But we're talking about Olverham here. They actually came, I believe, second in the jury, but then first in the televote, actually benefiting from the 60-40 split, which is, I don't mind that. I think it's safe to say that other people anticipated a different entry benefiting from that, but thankfully it was Godt. So it's safe to say that despite Norway, they've sent wolves. They've sent angels, Dylan. They have sent... they've sent wackiness, or they've sent Queen of Kings. They have sent all sorts of jazz. They even had a robot in this national final. But I think it's safe to say that even with all the chaos Norway have sent, Olverham is something completely different to what has ever been sent by Norway. What are your thoughts on this being the package going to Malmö?
Well, first of all, I congratulate them because they are amazing. Their performance was really great. Now that being said, they were only second in my personal ranking, behind my beloved Kino and Bandida. I mean, I was ready to party in the Euro Club with this silver lipstick, but I mean,
they will be at Euro Club regardless, Dylan. It's kind of you don't need to worry about that.
We could have actually a Euro Club with those who failed to make it to Eurovision because there are some amazing songs. But back to Godt, they have delivered something quite impressive on stage, to be honest. I think it's safe to say that from all the songs we have seen now in the national finals and all the live performances of the artists we've seen, this is something that is ready to go just as it is to the final of the Eurovision in Malmö. It could just be sent like that. They don't have to work on anything. The vocals were great, the staging, the camera moves, everything was just perfect. And I think this is part of their amazing performance that got them the victory over Kino. They didn't stall their victory, to be honest. They deserve it. They have a huge fan base in Norway, and it's great to see that the Eurovision still remains this very open contest where you can have any sort of music going there, and we would potentially, because I think this will do great, obtain a good result. And for that, I'm grateful to Norway, and because this is definitely some kind of song we are going to hear a lot. And I mean, from what I saw online, the fans are loving it. So that's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say that in terms of fan reaction, fan hype, you couldn't ask for two stronger entries from this. Like, I narrowly picked Ukraine to open because I saw the buzz of that. Like, I saw the numbers you were getting on that live stream for Vidbit. Man, they were good. They were impressive. But Norway, I put slightly second. But most other weeks, I would have Norway as the first one to talk about. I have been, despite Norway, I think are fairly regarded as one of the stronger countries in Eurovision overall. I've actually been quite critical of Norway in recent years. Despite me liking some of their entries, I thought they have untapped potential from their national final. I felt Melody Grand Prix usually is one of the stronger ones. However, they send the wackiness usually. They've sent Wolves instead of LC Bay. They've sent Angels instead of Kino and many other actually better entries from 2021. Sorry, Tix. And I went into this final with a massive concern because I know it wasn't high in the odds, but there was that robot in the background with, let's be honest, not a great song and not a great performance either, I don't think. But everyone thought that could win because it's Norway. They've done this before. They've sent the wackiness. And we all thought, oh, juries, please save it. Then they were doing okay with the juries. I'm like, no, get away, juries. Away from thee. In the end, they've sent Gott, which is a traditional, pop thing that you hear on the radio. No. Does it need to be? No. Norway, by the way, I just want to point out, Alessandra, I think they got fairly right last year. I'm not grouping her in with the wackiness that they usually send. Alessandra, Queen of Kings, is a good one. But firmly, when you had the option to send the wackiness and the robot and you send this, Norway, you are back at Eurovision. I am telling you, you are back. You have my utmost respect for taking this risk, because you've sent risks in the past, but they have been sort of safe-ish risks when it comes to, they'll qualify for the final. Will they do much there? Probably good with the televote, maybe not with a jury. This is special. This is cool. It's ethnic rock. This embodies Norway sending something ethnic is so exciting. You rarely get that from a Nordic country. I loved the song beforehand. It's so anthemic. It's so rock. It's very much me. And it was so unique as well. You don't get this in Norway MGP usually. You get pop. You get dance. You don't get this. So, but I don't think this was not my first place going into it with the studio. I think my first two were Kaino in second, and then Mia with Green Lights. Shout out to Mia, absolutely robbed in that final. I thought she did a fantastic performance. Genuinely, I thought she did a fantastic performance. Deserved a lot more, especially from the jury. Should have marked it considerably higher. But anyway, on to good. I remember watching semi-final 2 or heat 2, whatever it's called, and then they had me on that swirling light around the main singer. And from there, it got better and better and better. And the staging is so effing cool. It is so good. I love this staging so much. Don't change a single thing. Well, obviously adapt it for the stage in MALMÖ, but do not change a single thing. You don't have to. Just have that center light in the middle. Have the lead singer in the middle with all the backing dancers, or not backing dancers, God no, the rest of the band surrounding her, the lights, the chaos, everything. Keep it. It's one of the best national final performances I have ever seen. The best lighting display in a national final, if not Eurovision, I have ever seen. And it's very close, because Sanna Nilsson Undo is probably the best lighting I've seen at Eurovision. This will run it close. Very, very close. You could tell by my inflation, I am so excited. It's the first time where my winner of MGP's actually won. Like, it's so good. Will this be slightly polarizing? Yes, it will. Not everyone will get this. But what I mean by, if you're not a fan of rock, maybe this isn't for you. I get that.
But even I'm not sure. I think it could do very well with the public, to be honest, because this is something different, and the public usually likes that. We've seen all the winners that nobody expected to win. Hello Finland, for instance. But it could do great, and also because, as you said, this is something that has a strong Norwegian or Nordic identity, carries a strong identity, and a lot of viewers are after that because it is just different from the usual songs you get on the radio. And as you don't get these kind of songs on the radio, you might actually light a sparkle in many people.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm going to ask the mandatory question. Just answer with one word: qualifying.
Yes.
Wonderful. So let's go on to actually the final, because I'm going to say this now with some caveats. If the vocals are good, which I believe they were, I know it's hard to tell with auto-tune, but they sounded good. If the vocals are good and they keep this copy and paste, juries, this is not the one you screw Norway over. This is not the one. I know Alessandra had issues with the jury show. I get why you couldn't give her high points. If the jury show is good for this, if Gott's vocals are good, you do not screw this one over. This is one of the most special things Norway have sent to the contest since God knows how long. Norway in the last 10 years, since MALMÖ last hosted, have been in the top 5 once, and that was 5th place Alessandra last year. This, for me, I would be surprised if this was not in my contention to be my favorite of this year, and in contention to be top 5. It's going to have a bit of a home feel as well, home field feel in Sweden. I reckon there'll be some Swedish fans will love it, and that audience will be breathtaken by that. I can't wait to watch this live. Also, Gort, again, to be fair, this applies to Jelly, Hal, and Aliona as well. Gort, come to London Eurovision Party. That's the one I'm going to. I want to see this live as many times as possible. Please, this is so good. Yeah, it's fantastic. How? Because you said you will qualify, obviously. I'm just speechless with this. But how do you feel this will get on in the final, assuming it gets there?
Well, this is a tricky question for me, to be honest, because I'm not sure how good it could go with the jury. I'm pretty confident that the public will really back this and will
potential televote winner, genuinely.
Not sure winner, but definitely it's in the top 3 of the televotes as we speak.
Yeah.
But the juries, this is more complicated, and I'm not so sure. That being said, if we go for the quality of the vocals and the quality of staging, then it should be one of the top 5 or top 3 of the juries, because it is nailing it from top to toe. There is nothing you have to change there. It is one of the most accomplished performance we have ever seen in a national final, and it has everything to take away breath of the juries anywhere, regardless of the song, whether or not you like the kind of music. I mean, if we're fair here, this is supposed to be on the top 3 of the jury based on what we saw on the Melody Grand Prix.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, all the jury fares is, we can argue.
We'll find out. We'll find out in May, I suppose. We'll find out in May. To be fair, the last time they finished above 5th was in MALMÖ with Margaret Berger in 4th place. Did a bit worse in MGP this year, but there's some moments there for Norway, and this is the most excited I've been about a Norwegian entry ever. And I like Queen of Kings. I love Queen of Kings. Like, that's
you did. Oh my god.
Well, that's a Euroclub banger as well. I loved it. I thought the performance in Liverpool slightly let it down, but as a song, it's fantastic. This is the next step up for Norway. 100%. And you know what? I think arguably they couldn't have asked for a better position semi-final wise. They're in the second half of semi-final 2. So they're potentially going to avoid a lot of the heavy hitters. But I don't think that'll be in match. If Norway don't qualify, I give up. That's the bare minimum. But that is our thoughts. I say overall positive thoughts on Norway.
And now it's time for we gotta go. 30 seconds.
So now we come to another edition of OK, Gotta Go 30 Seconds. As always, inspired by our golden boy from 2015. So if you are new to the show, or for Dylan, to get a bit of a refresher, because he's played the first variant of OK, Gotta Go 30 Seconds, but he could do with the new one. Dylan, remind us, how did the first variant go again?
Not very well, but as I didn't use any joker, even though I got only one answer right, I think I was not in the bottom 5. So
I wouldn't say many people did well on the last one. I think around 50% of people scored 1. So the new variant, for those who are not aware, is I have the last 15 years of Eurovision in a random order. So from 2009 to 2023. Dylan, you will have to pick a number between 1 and 15, and then you will have 30 seconds to name as many entries from that year as you can. You only have to give me the song title from that, obviously. So you don't have to give me the artist, and obviously the country would be cheating. Not the country. You get a couple lifelines. So the first one is year restart. If at any point you're stuck on the current year you're on, just say another number immediately, and then we will go with whatever year that is. Winner check. If at any point you want to get some juices flowing in the brain and want to find out who won that year, ask me and I will tell you what country won that year. Then the final one is a variant on year restarts called recency biased. So Dylan, if you would prefer to automatically get a recent year, then say the phrase recency bias and then pick a number between 1 and 5. Then I will give you a number, I will give you a year, from the last 5 years as opposed to 15. So 2019 onwards. The only downside to using recency bias is your points from that point will be halved. The only other thing you need to know is there is a bonus point option. So, Dylan, you can say these in any order you like. However, if you can name me at least the top 5 from first, second, third onwards, then your points from all entries said chronologically will be doubled. So the example I always say is if you can name me numbers 1 through 7, that will be worth 14 points. However, after any points, after 5th, you can stop doing them in order and go in whatever order. So you can go 1 to 7 and then the song that came in 31st, for example. That would give you 15 points still. Your points are doubled or banked. I will say you can only use that for 1 year. So you can't do that. You can't do the top 5 for 1 year, then use year restart. Hypothetically, I know you're shaking your head right now, but hypothetically, some people could do that. So just in case.
I can't. I mean, I can't. I have a golden fish memory, so what do you expect, Harry?
And then the only other thing with that bonus point option is if you get 2020, sorry, you can't do that. And then the final rule that you need to know, and is one that you are familiar with, is your time will start when you hear the year, and your time will end when you hear the following.
Okay, hit the end.
We are talking about Ukraine today, after all. And that works. So, Dylan, before we get started, how are you feeling about this variant? Because as you said, you didn't exactly do great last time, but the only way is up. How are you feeling?
No, the only way is not up,
Yeah, okay, I suppose in theory you could get 0, but...
Yeah, I could get 0, so I don't feel very confident, and I resent you, to be honest.
Dylan is always a big fan of the games. He says how much he wanted to come back on the show to play the game in particular.
Well, kids might be watching, so I won't speak the truth, but I'll text you after that, yeah.
Yes, of course. But Dylan, let's see what you're actually up against, because believe it or not, this time, not everyone has just scored 1 point. There has actually been a fairly diverse range of scores this time. So we've had 5 people take part so far. In 5th place with 4 points, it is Chris. In 4th place with 5 points, it is Jess. 3rd with 6, it's Tommy. 2nd with 7, it's Twan. And then out in 1st with 12 points, it is Yana. Currently in the lead. So yeah, you need to beat 4 to avoid coming in last place. So you got 30 seconds. I'm sure you can, and in any order as well. So Dylan, can I have a number between 1 and 15?
I'm gonna go with 7.
Number 7. Okay, let's get the entries up for number 7. I have them with me right now. So Dylan, you will have 30 seconds to name as many entries from 2018. Go.
18. Oh my god, that was Lisbon. So Lisbon, I have Under the Ladder from MALMÖ, MALMÖ with Merci. We got Love from Jessica.
Remember, you don't need the artist. Remember.
Sarah Alto, Monsters, I think. We had Toys. We also had what was Cyprus, Fuego. We had Storm by Surrey. Love that. Was robbed. Lost and Found from Macedonia, North Macedonia.
Okay, hit the end.
Time is up. Sadly, I cannot count Halane.
No, you can't. But I love her, so I wanted to name her because Halane was an amazing
I must say, Dylan, halfway through that, I was thinking, are you going to mention Toy and Fuego, the 2 most iconic entries?
Yeah, I was like,
from that year.
But no, I mean, okay. So how was it?
How was it? Well, Dylan, you will be pleasantly surprised. Very well done. You even managed to name the second to last entry in terms of like where it finished. For those who North Macedonia came second to last.
Oh yeah, but that was probably my favorite that year, so it was easy.
Song-wise, it's fantastic. Let's not talk about staging. For those who were playing along at home, to be fair, 2018 came up last time, so I did mention this. But for those playing along at home, this is the top 5 if you wanted to go for the double point, if you wanted to go for the bonus point option. So you could have said Toy, then Fuego, then Nobody But You from Austria, then You Let Me Walk Alone from Germany, and then, forgive me on my pronunciation here, Nobby Qui Eve Fatto Niente from Italy. So if you'd named at least those in order and then carried on after that, you could have got it. But
I mean, no offense, but I didn't even remember these songs.
nobody but you won the jury vote. That's fairly famous. But that doesn't matter because Dylan, you'll be happy to hear you scored a whopping 8 points in that, which actually puts you all the way up into second place on the leaderboard. How do you feel about that? I'm pretty sure that's already higher than what you managed last time.
Yes. I mean, I'm back, baby. Excuse
You're
me.
back. See, you love the game, really. You love the game.
No, I don't like it. I just got lucky with the year, to be honest. So yeah.
It's one of those years where it's like it's not recent, but recent enough where you have enough knowledge from it.
Yeah, and also because I mean, those of you who've been watching and listening to the first podcast, the first season where I was, you should know that this was my first Eurovision in person. So I've got quite a lot of good memories from that year. Yes,
I will say. I mean, you say that Twan got his first Eurovision in person in 2021, and just about struggled to get the Netherlands entry. Well, I mean, he's from the Netherlands. You'd expect him to get your home country. You got France fairly early on.
Yeah, but Mercy was amazing. That was robbed as well. You know.
There you go. There's your rob. There's your rob. So. Let's have a refresher on the leaderboard after Dylan's attempt. I tell you what, it's very much an order of like one after the other in terms of points, and then Jana ruins it. But in 6th place with 4 points, it is Chris. In 5th place with 5, there we go. It makes it nice now. 5th with 5 is Jess. 4th with 6 is Tommy. 3rd with 7, it's Twan. In new entry in 2nd place with 8, it's Dylan, and still out in the lead. But I feel like, unlike last season, someone might be able to catch the winner.
Yeah.
It's more possible this year. With 12, it is Jana. So that concludes another edition of OK, Gotta Go 30 Seconds. So now we come to our final 2 entries of this show. And up first, we have España. Benidorm Fest completing on Saturday. Benidorm Fest week, obviously, pretty much went throughout the entire talking point of the thing, for good and bad. I would say Spain and Benidorm Fest not averse to controversy. And the winner, I would say, a little bit of controversy, but not in terms of how they won. They won fair and square. It is Nebulosa with the song Zora. So that was Nebulosa with Zora, Spain's entry for 2024's Eurovision in MALMÖ. They originate the duo from Honduras, Spain, and they're actually the 2 oldest artists so far in there, with the lead singer being 54 years old and the other person who's actually called Nebulosa being 49. They won Benidorm Fest after topping the jury and televote, but they came in 2nd with the demoscopic. No, they didn't. They came 3rd with the demoscopic.
3rd, I think. Yeah.
But still well. They still did well. But they finished joint top actually with the jury. We'll probably come onto that. And 1st with the televote. So I think it's safe to say, Dylan, compared to our top 2, Nebulosa has got a bit of hype. There's a little bit of love towards it, but I wouldn't say it's as strong as the first 2. What are your thoughts on Spain's entry for 2024?
Well, I think Benidorm this year was, again, a very strong competition. A lot of artists did amazing performances, and I think it was much more open than at the first rehearsal. I mean, not rehearsal, but when we had the rebuilding of the song and the artists.
The studio versions,
The studio version, yes, sorry. Everybody was mad about Brillos Platinos, I think, and then it was like the victory was for him.
Or Sofia Cole, I would argue, is the other one.
Or Sofia Cole as well, yes. And in the end, it was much more an open competition. I have to say that, in my opinion, Zora is probably the safest choice for Spain there. I'll explain. Yeah, because I think Maria Pelea and her flamenco was great. Honestly, I loved it. I love flamenco, and I love when a country puts its identity again on the stage. I think it gives a little extra, some soul to the performance, and this is what I'm after when I'm watching Eurovision. But to be fair, we know what happened to Blanca Paloma last year,
Yeah.
and I think this could have been a repetition for Spain. And nobody wants to see a country failing again and again. So Maria Pelea would have been a very risky choice. And then San Pedro, I love the song. It was one of my favorites. Love the song, love his voice, and the performance was really moving. But I'm not sure a ballad would have done very good for Spain. Every time they sent a ballad, as far as I remember, they did fairly poorly with the
Dancing
jury
in the
and
Rain,
crowd.
Quédate conmigo.
Yeah.
They actually did quite well.
Okay, I didn't have this in mind actually. But
Recently, you're thinking more Blas Canto from 2021, I would imagine.
actually, yeah, Blas Canto was, and though I loved Blas Canto, it was in my top 5.
And Tu Question from 2018, to be fair, as well.
Also, oh yeah, I should have named that from the quiz because also it was one of my favorite Tu Canción. But yeah, these are the two I had in mind. When it comes to Zora, I think the performance was very interesting because you could see why it would obviously appeal to the audience.
Yes,
It is
we'll come on to
an
that.
anthem. It is something easy to sing. It is catchy. The performance stage could need a rework. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think maybe the performance is a bit lazy compared to other performances we have so far, but still, it works fine. And it has this little pinch of disco vibes, a bit of the 80s. So I think it will appeal to also older generations in the contest, which would be great. It is also a performance that relies on the audience. And this is something I love because there is nothing better than an arena on fire, singing and dancing with the contestants. But would have Spain got better results with other contestants such as Sofia Cole, for instance? I'm not so sure. Again, based on what I saw on Benidorm and the fire Nebulosa put on the stage, I think it was the best choice for Spain.
Interesting. So that's the positivity for Spain.
Yes.
Right. Well, I mean, you know how much I love Ukraine and Norway this year, and I feel like Spanish fans know where this is going if they saw the Benidorm Fest live that I hosted.
Yeah.
Hi, Spanish fans again. Always lovely to see you.
Oh, they are lovely though.
They love me. They love Samuele. Spanish fans love Samuele. From what
Of course, it's Samuele. He's Italian,
They don't like that. I don't think they love me. But I'm sorry, I don't get this.
Oh no, come on, Harry.
I don't get it. I find it lazy. I find it. You just said the performance was lazy.
The performance was lazy and need to be reworked because she's just standing there basically, and she's slightly moving at some point.
She's 54, so she can't do much else.
Oh, come on! You're not dead when you're 54.
No. Look, I feel like this did well because of two reasons. The topless men on stage, appealing to, let's be honest, the campus gayest national final out there in Benidorm Fest. It is.
Okay,
and
but
also,
then explain Jorge Gonzalez.
That also did well with the demoscopic and the televote.
the televote, yeah, but not so much for the jury, for instance. And I would assume.
Well, here's the thing: the jury have to be more. The jury's role is to be more diplomatic, to be more objective. So why?
Technically, yes. Do they follow the guidelines?
Exactly. And this is also my issue. I feel like the jury being in the arena were heavily influenced by the sing-along factor of Zora. The audience did a lot of the heavy lifting, I feel like, for Zora's televote. Because I feel like from an objective perspective, I don't think juries should be able to say that St. Pedro and Zora are the same points from a jury perspective. Televote and demoscopic, you do whatever the hell you want. But juries, you're meant to be more objective than that. And also, I mentioned this in my live, and I'm allowed to criticize the juries because of this. You can't have the same juries for the semi-final and the final have minimal change in the performances, because there was minimal change from live to semi, and then the jury votes for some people are completely different. How can Jorge Gonzalez be 6th in the semi-final with the jury and then 5th when there's meant to be stronger competition in the final? How can Miss Cafina be 2nd in the semi-final and then last in the final, losing out to songs that were in semi-final 1 that they beat? It makes zero sense. I know mathematically it's possible if you just remove some other songs, but come on. I feel like juries lose all credibility there if you are just clearly pandering to what the fan reaction is, because they put Jorge Gonzalez higher because people love Jorge Gonzalez, and they put Miss Cafina lower because, let's be honest, that was the only one people thought had no chance of winning. So I digress. That's my rant on the jury. When it comes to Nebulosa and Zora, I find this song bland. I find it lazy. Spanish fans love it. It's a very easy song to listen to.
But it is an easy song. It is a catchy song. You know,
it is catchy. I'm not disputing that.
It also has. It is an anthem. Also, let's be honest here. It is something more than just a performance, a lazy performance, or a catchy song. It also conveys a message to many people in general, not only LGBTQ plus community, but also to any kind of minority in general. The message is basically, I do what I want with my life, I do what I want with my body, and I don't care about anyone's opinion. And as long as I'm not, messing up with anyone, I should be allowed to live the life I want the way I want. Okay, and I think this is something very interesting because we discussed, for instance, the Ukrainian song, the Ukrainian entry. It has a message as well. Every song has a message, or most of the songs have a message.
It's just whether they're good messages is a different issue.
Yeah, but again, I think Spain has a good message.
No, I'm not saying Spain's in that category. It's just to clarify. Okay, maybe the song isn't lazy. It's very Spanish radio. I don't think it's standout, but that's more of me thing. I think the performance is very lazy. I feel like the vocals are very quiet, and I feel like they rely on the sing along factor and the topless men on stage. that's the.
Yeah, I disagree. I agree to disagree.
The televote, the top two in the televote were both topless men. That says a lot for the Spanish the demographic for Benidorm. I'm sorry, it's the Campus National Final out there. Like
it is, yeah.
So the target demographic is topless men. It's like yay, and it's very hardcore Eurovision fan friendly. Hardcore Eurovision fan friendly very rarely translates to good results at Eurovision. And I respect Spanish fans who said in the live and say online, you know what, we just wanted to send something that represents us, represents Spain. We don't care about the result. You can do that. Here's two things I would say on that mentality and Spanish fans saying that. One, I completely respect their mentality. It's not, and at the end of the day, I can't change people's mentality on why they select certain songs. I tend to look at this contest from a more competitive, the fact it's a contest. So while I don't think the deciding factor necessarily, or the 100% factor should be what will work in the contest, I do think there needs to be a little bit of that mindset. Enough of it. At the end of the day, Benidorm Fest is a contest for Eurovision. It was set up and brought back for Eurovision. It's not like Sanremo, where it was set up first, then for Eurovision. No. Benidorm Fest is for Eurovision. We do need to remember that. And also, Spanish fans saying they don't care about the result. I'm sorry. Have you seen yourselves on Twitter? When we come to May, if this does not do well, we know the Spanish fans are going to complain. Why didn't we do better? Why didn't we do better? Why didn't you love us more? We saw it with AR. We saw it with Slow Mo. It's just a fact. We know that Spanish fans will hype this up, and then if it doesn't do well, they will complain. I am generalizing heavy there. Not all Spanish fans.
Yeah, first thing, you're generalizing.
I'm generalizing heavy there, but out of all the fandoms, you know that Spanish fans are known for doing this more than others. They are very vocal. They have the most vocal fans, I would say.
I mean, okay, and so what? In the end, it's a contest, but it's also a fun contest. It is about having fun, enjoying. So I would say that I agree with you. Maybe sometimes we should have a more professional look at our national finals or internal selections, just for like the fact that we are using taxpayer money to send these artists to compete in Eurovision final or semi-final. So maybe just to keep that in mind, especially when you know how much Spain paid last year for the delegation. But apart from that, I think also the song is first representative of Spanish identity, and their music industry in general. But also more than that, I am convinced that this is the best song they could have sent for the Eurovision. Honestly, I don't see San Pedro doing better than that, because in the end, we have also to take into account something that we rarely take into account when we do the lives, but I think it is something that is that everybody knows, and we don't address it very often, is that the Eurovision is also based on cliché. So you would expect Italy to send a certain specific kind of songs. The same goes for Spain. The same goes for France, for instance. There is a reason if Barbara Pravi did better than Fulen, for instance, or Patricia Cass did also better than Sébastien Tellier. So people are also watching through their cliché, the performances they see on the stage. It doesn't always work, because otherwise, of course, Blanca Paloma should have won last year.
Yeah.
But I would say that back to the Spanish selection, it is also something we see every year. The Spanish people are hyping up their songs, their performance, because they are proud of whatever songs they have to represent them. And I think this is also something very, very important. I mean, I come from a country where the Eurovision is basically something for either LGBT people, either for old people, either for geek. So, it's something that is heavily criticized in France, mocked more than criticized, to be honest. And we don't have that pride when it comes to our songs. We spend our time complaining before the contest, not after the result. Before the contest, we spend our days to complain, to bash our own representative. And then in the end, we're like, we lost, but nobody likes us. And anyway, we were meant to lose anyway. And when Voila performed second, some stupid French fans came up with this idea that Italy would have cheated or would have used drug on stage. I mean, come on, please, people. So this is certain very specific categories of fan that I don't even consider to be fans, to be honest, because they take it so seriously that they tend to forget the fun part of it. And I would say that the Spanish people are proud of their songs. They are allowed to be proud. And I generally agree that you might not like the song, and it's okay. You are allowed to criticize the song, and you have good arguments for that. But again, I think in the end, it is just like colors. So it comes down to personal tastes.
Yeah. And also, just to clarify, absolutely, they're allowed to be proud of their entry. I don't want them heavily switching and criticizing the contest or other fans when it comes to May if this doesn't do well. Speaking of which, I don't think that's fair. I don't think all of a sudden blaming others if an entry, you can be proud of an entry if it doesn't do well, but don't flip and say, oh, this is your fault. I'm like, no, it's different taste. You can be proud of a song. So obviously this is already in the final. Let's actually get on to some definitive prediction stuff. This is already in the final. So the lowest this will come is 26th. How do you feel this getting on? Because at the end of the day, Slow-Mo finished 3rd, Blanca Paloma 17th. Is there even like a small range you could put this in? Do you feel?
So I think based on what we saw, it's hard to reach top 10, to be honest, right now. As we both agreed on, it needs to be changed. The performance needs to be hyped up in a way. So if they do that, they might be closer to the top 10 than right now. As we speak, I think it would be on top of the right side of the board, but it could also join the left side of the board should they be able to revamp their performance, their staging. It is something that could go really on top or flop as well.
Yeah.
So we should not, we should keep in mind that it might be bottom 5. But to be honest, I think this is Spain's safest choice, and I would say it is somewhere between 13th to 17th place, in my opinion.
Fair enough. I said my claim in the podcast, and I'll say it in the live stream. I'll say it now. I think this is bottom 5. I don't see. I know the jury's loved it in Benidorm Fest. I don't see them loving it in actual Eurovision. And I feel like the problem with the televote is, I feel like partly because of the new system where all the televote favorites go through, but also just I'm thinking in my head what songs are likely to win their national finals, and there's a lot of televote bait that is potentially going to be competing with Zora, and I would argue it wins. I feel like if we just go on here, Norway gets a higher televote than Spain. I think Ukraine gets a higher televote than Spain. Sweden or Finland, unless they completely flop, will get a higher televote than Spain. I think Estonia, if they send 5 minutes, will get a higher televote than Spain. Netherlands have the potential with their artist. UK have the potential with their artist. There's too many contenders on top of whatever just good quality songs there are for me to justifiably say, oh, Spain will be saved by the televote. I don't know that for certain. They came last year in the televote.
Yeah. But
so
again, I don't think it is something that is aiming at winning the contest in any case.
No, God no. But I would worry for Spain because at the end of the day, they've had 2 of their better results. I know 17th was a bit of a flop, but it's still one of the better results in recent years.
Still one of them.
And I just worry, like, at the end of the day, Benidorm Fest was created to improve their results. That was the intention of creating this national final, because Spain had sucked, basically, for quite a while. So I feel like the problem is, as much as you can have, there's pride in sending Zora. I'm not saying they're wrong for sending Zora from a pride standpoint, or, she rigged it or was unfair. She won it fair and square. I worry that you are defeating the point of Benidorm Fest if you go back to the bottom 5. That's my concern, and that's,
again, I would ask you then, what do you have any miracle, like any solution to that? Because it comes
as in like to the staging of Zora, or picking another artist.
No. In general, to find the proper artist to perform well in the Eurovision. We've seen it with the UK or France recently, for instance. We've both had very good years, finishing second, and then the next year, the following year, it was a complete flop. And I mean, this is something you can't really control.
You can't control it, but at the end of the day, I feel like national final credibility in terms of results is important. Like, I mean, to be fair, you do mention what is the formula? I don't know. We can try and ask Sweden. We can try and ask Italy. We can try and ask Finland in recent years. We could try and ask Ukraine, Norway. These consistently do relatively well. Spain, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's a point where it's like, how good is Benidorm Fest for Spain's at Eurovision? How good is it for that specific category? Is it good for getting interest? Yeah. Has it been good so far at Eurovision? I would say yes.
Yes.
The problem is, I feel like a lot of fans would agree with me here. The quality of Benidorm Fest has slowly declined in the last 3 years, overall quality wise.
Maybe, yeah.
So if it continues on that path, is there an issue there? But I feel like we have discussed Spain enough there. I'm sure all the comments love me in the in the YouTube. Again, hi Spanish fans. I look, if I'm wrong, fine. I'm not an expert. All right. You can come at me on Instagram, YouTube, comment. Fine, whatever. I've been wrong before. I'm probably going to be wrong again at some point. But as I said, Spain does not compete in the semi-finals, but it is already in the grand final, already along with the confirmed entry of France, Le Main, Mon Amour. So now we come to the final song for this evening, and we go to the tiny island of Malta. Always a fan favourite amongst the Eurovision fandom when it comes to countries that they want to see win, because Malta, big fan of Eurovision. And this year, they are sending Sara Benici with the song Loop. So that was Sara Benici with Loop, Malta's entry for Eurovision 2024 in MALMÖ. Sara Benici is from Gozo in Malta, and she is actually, fun fact, the daughter of Marcel Benici, the CEO of Mercury Towers and a football team called Harum Spartans. So very rich man, this Marcel is. So I feel it's safe to say, Chris, out of the 4 entries we have today, Malta is getting the least amount of talked about compared to Spain, Norway, and Ukraine. And that is not surprising, I feel, going into the week. There was hype for Ukraine, Spain, and Norway. But in your opinion, does that necessarily mean that what Malta are sending is bad, or is it just to do with the country and their credibility?
Okay, so I don't think there is anything bad or good when we select a song. I don't want to be like you, crucified by the fans online.
There's
So
not
I keep
that many
my
Malta fans. You can say what you want.
no, I think Malta's entry and internal selection as well, to be honest, this year was fairly weak, to say the least. I was really disappointed and surprised in a bad way. I mean, no offensive, but I think Sara Bonici is a safe non-qualifier as we speak right now.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, nothing moves me in the performance. I can't relate to anything, either the lyrics, either the moves, either the camera moves, either the nothing, really nothing. It is boring, in my opinion. You said Sora was boring, but then I mean, what do you think about this one? I mean,
we'll come to my thoughts. We'll come to them.
except apart from the chorus, maybe, which somehow stay in your head like for 15 seconds.
You've got it on loop. You've got to.
Yeah, you got it on loop for 15 seconds. Then let's be honest, you move on. I think she is still a young artist and performer. She would do better in a few years from now. She has a huge potential, let's be honest, but she still needs to work a lot. Again, this is just a personal opinion, and I'm no specialist, I'm no dancer, I'm no vocalist. But I was just disappointed because I think Malta could have done better. I loved the selection last year, for instance. I still think Aiden was robbed 2 years ago. I'll never get over it. But yeah, Malta is the kind of country you want to see winning because they have this Eurovision culture. They love it, and they really go for it usually. But this year, something didn't work for me, and I think unfortunately Malta is not going to win this year. It's safe to say. So yeah, better luck next year.
Okay, fair enough. I say that in a way like I completely disagree with you. I don't. No. Well, okay. I don't hate this. I don't hate this.
I don't hate this.
It is very much. It's a very typical. Just this is a Eurovision bop. Let's send it. Which, to be fair, Malta don't usually send like this style of music.
No,
they usually go for like female ballads. So I appreciate them going for something different. What I will say is, for anyone that remembers Sara Bonici from, I believe it was Malta's selection in 2022, she has vastly improved in terms of her live capabilities. This style seems to suit her a lot more. And you know what? It's a perfectly fine performance. It's decent enough. The dance moves are fairly good. The vocals are fine. It's all good. It's solid stuff. Does it stand out? No. Will people like Malta this year? I do believe they will like Malta. Will they love it? I'm not sure. Personally, looking at that selection, I would have actually gone for Matte Black with Banana because at the end of the day, people might vote for a man riding a banana on stage. It's a standout thing that people would get. What I will say to this song's credit, because you mentioned about this will likely be a non-qualifier, so I'll move on to my thoughts on this. I think it's slightly too early to say. And the only reason I'm not completely rolling this out is with the televote only system, female bops do tend to do well. If it gets into the final, completely flop, like bottom 5. But they do tend to do well. You've got to send quite a bad girl bop to not qualify. And looking at this lineup for semi-final 2, because it's in semi-final 2, there doesn't seem to be many female girl bops that are going to be in there. You've got Austria, Armenia might send one, Switzerland might. There's not many. There's a lot of songs that are going to be of a wacky different style that contrasts to this. So this might have its place. If Malta, to be fair, can also upgrade the staging slightly, there's some
slightly
fine pieces, quite a bit. Then there's some fine pieces here. I don't think it's a complete no. I don't look at this and go, definitely not. But I don't look at this with, with confidence. I would lean more towards non-qualifier because also Malta have their struggles with televote anyway. But is this a complete disaster? Am I going into this thinking there's no chance? No. I feel there's a chance. I'm just not completely convinced. But it's a perfect, considering the quality of the national final, it's a perfectly serviceable entry for Malta. It's not terrible by any means. I don't think it will come last in the semi-final like the Busker did. I do think this will have its audience. But it's there, which I think compared to the other 3 songs we discussed this evening is not a good place that you want to be.
No.
So that is our thoughts on Malta. Malta, as we mentioned, are in semi-final 2, and they will be performing in the first half. So that will do it for another edition of the Eurovoxx podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Coming up next week, we will be discussing Italy, Finland, and Latvia, who are all revealing their entries on Super Saturday. We hope for no more voting glitches or anything like that. Italy will technically be Sunday, but they will start their show and it will be you know how Sanremo works. It's fine. But Dylan, thank you so much for coming back on the show. Always a pleasure to have you on. One of my favorite guests to have. Make sure, and I can't wait to see you in. You're coming to Sweden, right?
Yeah, I'm coming.
Yay! I'll see you then. Lovely stuff.
Yes.
Of course. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and like this video and comment below. Even if it's on the Spanish thing, it's fine. You can comment whatever you want about me. maybe also leave a positive one on Norway because I was positive about that one. And Ukraine. And Ukraine. Maybe if you want positivity, just focus on the first half of this episode. But I digress. Also, make sure to make the news website your home for Eurovision news. And of course, in my biased opinion, follow us on Spotify. Make sure to leave a like on make sure to follow us on there and also leave a rating because it does help expand it on that platform. Even if you watch us on YouTube, go over to Spotify and help us out over there. All that's left for me to say is hope you enjoyed this episode and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.